Me, YouTube. It's your boy Caesar, and I'm back with another reaction video. In today's reaction video, we're reacting to Saga the Youngin, A Tale of Two Neighbors. Don't forget to leave a like, comment on the video if you're brand new to the channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1K, like I always say. Also, don't forget to turn on the post notifications so you don't miss a upload. I'm tired, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I had to get that out. I am tired from work. But let's go ahead and get straight into this video.
So this story takes place over the course of about a year, and at the time, me and a few friends had just started renting out this house, and moving into a new house, one thing you're curious about is who your neighbors are going to be and what they're going to be like. They could be chill, they could be angry, they could just keep to themselves. You could end up living next to the type of guy where you put a single toe across his lawn and you just cross the line, buddy. Your neighbors have the potential to make your day-to-day life either a lot better or a lot worse. So we move into this house, and within the first few days of being there, we're curious about who our neighbors are. So we decide to go knock on both of their doors just to introduce ourselves and see who we'd be living next to. So we walk over to the first house, to the left, knock on the door, and this old lady answers. And we get to talking with her a little bit, and she was actually really nice, like definitely gave off grandma vibes. In fact, she literally said to us, word for word, "I want you to think of me like I'm your grandma." At one point in the conversation, she also mentioned how she worked at this bakery store, and that's what she did during the week. And then she also asked us if we were fans of Arizona State because that was the college that was nearby. I know those seem like random details, but you'll see how they come into play later on. But basically, it was a good first impression. She was just a chill old lady. Nothing super crazy, either good or bad. And so that was that for the house on the left. And then we go to the other neighbors, the house on the right. Now, when we tried to go talk to them, which we later found out was like this husband and wife, so also more old people, and they were not trying to answer their door. We could see hella cars in the driveway, lights on in the house, we were knocking, but they were just ignoring us. But maybe they were just taking a nap or something. Maybe they just had that many cars. We gotta give them the benefit of the doubt at first, right? So we were like, whatever. Maybe we'll happen to run into them later, maybe not. So we just walked away and went back inside. But after that day when we knocked on both of their doors, we honestly didn't expect to have any further interactions with either of them. Besides maybe possibly seeing them in passing on occasion. But that was the furthest extent of any interaction we thought we'd have with either of them ever again. But that couldn't have been further from the truth, because as it would end up, the both of them would end up becoming fairly integral parts of our experience staying at this house. We just didn't know it yet. And not always in a good way either. To be honest, the neighbor situation ended up being way more interesting than you would think for having all old people neighbors. So fast forward a few days, and a couple mornings later, we get a knock on the door. And when I open the door, standing there was the old lady from the house on the left. And the first thing I see is her just standing there, holding like 6 loaves of all these different types of bread. I remembered how beforehand she had mentioned she worked at a bakery, and she went on to explain that all of this bread she had with her was some of the leftover that the bakery didn't sell that week. It wasn't expired yet, it maybe just wasn't prime freshness for selling to customers, but she said we could have all of them if we wanted. So of course we accepted it and thanked her, and she just gave us all of these loaves of all of these different kinds of bread. And then right before she left, she asked us again if we were Arizona State fans, which was kind of weird because I remembered her already asking us that, but maybe she didn't remember our answer and just wanted to double check or something. And then she left and walked away. But she had given us so much bread that a full week later, we had probably barely eaten even half of it. We still have a crazy amount of bread left in our house. When we get another knock on the door, a week later, and she's standing there again with another armful of bread. She was back with more for a second time, but far from the last time, because she came the week after that, and the week after that, and for a while it became pretty much a weekly thing, where she would just bring us these massive amounts of bread. Just the weekly bread. And we definitely appreciated it. I mean, who doesn't want free food? I can't even lie. She put me onto hella types of different bread. I'm telling you, she really expanded my horizons. I'm talking about flavored bread, French toast bread, filled bread, sweet bread, fruit bread. So shout out to her. And when she would come by for these bread deliveries, she would always ask us if we were Arizona State fans. She would always ask us that question. Even though she just asked us a few days ago, and a few days before that, and a few days before that. But it turns out she low-key had memory problems because she would just repeat random little things like that all the time. So every time she would knock on our door to give us bread, she would always ask us the Arizona State question. Every week. Are you guys fans of Arizona State? Are you guys fans of Arizona State? Are you guys fans of Arizona State? I felt like I was in that one scene from Doctor Strange, where he kept asking that demon thing the same thing over and over. But she was not kidding when she said she'd bring us over the extra bread. Every week, a knock on the door, of course the Arizona State question, and then hand us like 7 different loaves of bread. My roommate said that he was walking home one day, and she saw him outside walking, and she told him to come inside her house because she had some bread to give him. So he does. He follows the lady into her house after she offered him free bread. Sounds like it could be suspicious, but he said when he...
That's great range.
Prepare your taste buds. Kit Kat Duo's mint and dark chocolate.
When he walked in, there was bread literally everywhere, and he didn't even make it into the kitchen. He was just in her living room. It was on the couches, the tables, the shelves. He's like, "I'm sorry, ma'am, did you say you worked at a bakery, or your house is the bakery?" And she told him to take as much as he wanted, so he walked back in the house that day with more bread in his arms than the 4 of us could ever consume before it went bad. Especially considering it was probably only going to be another few days before the next free bread delivery. Now, that's one thing with all this free bread, is the bread really started to pile up in that house. You walk into our kitchen and you think there was no household communication about who was buying bread, because there was just so much of it everywhere. But still probably nowhere near what the old lady's house looked like. Something else funny about the bread lady is she would give us these little pieces of information that turned out to just be completely wrong, and it could have been related to her memory problem. But for example, one of the times where she told us that the owners of the house we lived in China, and I had no reason to question that because we had never talked to the actual owners. But I found out like a year later, right before we moved out, that they didn't actually live in China. They never lived in China. They lived like literally a 15-minute drive down from where we lived. Didn't even live in a different city, much less across the world. So I don't know if she got it mixed up with someone else, or maybe the old lady was just straight up trolling us, who knows. But she wasn't lying when she said to think of her like a grandma, because another thing she would do is take our recycle can to the curb for us. She'd walk up to our gate, grab it, and wheel it down every week. She'd do it really early in the morning too, before we even woke up to do it ourselves, and if I'm being honest, we would have probably forgotten to do it anyways, so shout out to her for that too. Now, as far as the neighbors to the right, let's talk about them. So something that we picked up on is that they seem to hate us for no reason. After they didn't answer their door the first day, we would occasionally see them in passing, and they would always just be giving us these dirty looks. Like I'd carry a bag of groceries to the door, and they'd be over there in their yard giving us side-eye for no reason, or we'd just be walking back and forth from the house to the cars out front, and if they were outside, they'd be all staring us down and everything. It seemed like there was this random passive aggression being directed towards us. For what reason? We had no idea. So the lady from the left had been giving us bread for a few months at this point, and we hadn't really heard too much from the other people. But one day we get a knock on the door, and it was the guy from next door standing out there. And this was the first time we ever actually communicated with them other than stares back and forth. But when we opened the door, he's like, "Look guys, I'm gonna get straight to the point. You need to turn down that music you're playing, because I can feel my walls vibrating." And he continues, he's like, "I was sitting in my living room, and you almost knocked over my TV stand with all that loud music you're playing." And we were like, "What?" And the reason we're looking at him so strange was because there was no music on. We were not playing any music. All that was happening was my roommate was playing some random video game, and it was playing through speakers, so I don't know if he could have possibly been hearing explosions or gunshots or something coming from the game. I mean, maybe? But come on, your walls are vibrating? Really? We almost knocked over your TV, acting like there was just a seismic earthquake or something. But we're not trying to start problems with anybody, so we're like, yeah, no problem, we'll keep the volume down. And how he said it was music made me confused if what he was hearing was actually even coming from our house. Because first of all, there was nothing so loud that was going on to where he'd be able to hear it from all the way inside of his house. And second, how do you mistake a World War II video game for music? But either way, this man is over here exaggerating for no reason. Like, we know your walls are not vibrating from someone playing a video game. Mans was acting like we were detonating actual explosives outside his home. There were also a few times where I would order food from DoorDash or Postmates or whatever, and the order would just disappear, nowhere to be found.
And people still
Watch live and local news on a variety of networks with YouTube TV. Try it free.
And free. And free.
That's right. TurboTax Free Edition is free.
Found at our door. And every time, the delivery drivers would say they dropped it off at the bench in front of the house. We didn't have a bench in front of our house, but our neighbors did. So I thought the delivery drivers were accidentally dropping the food off at the wrong house, the next door over, and our neighbors would just snatch it and keep it for themselves. I don't know, I just kind of assumed maybe the address numbers were confusing or something. Now, it turns out that Google Maps was just so messed up in that area that it was leading these delivery drivers to this random house like through an alley and behind us, which also happened to have a bench by their front door, and that's where the food was going all along. But they were acting so grouchy towards us all the time, they kind of gave me a good reason to think it could have been them. Like, you know you're bad neighbors when the people next to you automatically assume that you're the one stealing their food. I mean, it definitely never crossed my mind that it was the bread lady. As a matter of fact, the bread lady was actually giving us food, not taking it. But at the end of the day, it turned out to be Google Maps' fault, so I guess they're innocent on that one. I think it got to be the worst when they called the cops on us, actually on multiple occasions, but that whole thing is going to have to be a whole separate video on its own. Now contrast them with the bread plug, coming through with all this fancy bread on a weekly basis, taking our garbage can to the curb for us before we woke up. Shout out to her. I'll take her as my neighbor any day over the other people, saying we're causing earthquakes in their house, calling the cops on us, but again, that's going to have to be for a different video. And I think that's where I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for all the support. I really do appreciate all of you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.
Alright, man, that's the end of the video. Oh, Lord. Don't really have nothing to say, but it was a good story. It's your boy, Season. I'm out. Peace.